Hey, hockey fans, T-Boz is 13-3 here with another top shelf guest, Richfield, Minnesota native and current director of boys hockey and boys prep head coach at Shattucks St. Mary's, Tom Ward. This episode is sponsored by Riverside Bike and Skate, Raleigh's Coach Club, Markin and Johnson, and Kelly Heating and Electric. Mogi.
Hey, Coach Ward, we can't thank you enough for agreeing to sit down and talk with us and inviting us down to Shattuck St. Mary's here in your alumni room to sit down and talk some hockey, talk about your career and what's going on down here at Shattuck St. Mary's. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me, boys.
You were a multi-sport athlete growing up. A little football, a little baseball, some hockey. Where did the inner drive come from?
Oh, I'm a son of a football and wrestling coach. That's probably the biggest part of it. So I grew up washing mats and carrying mats up and down the stairs at the high school and, being a ball boy at the football games on Friday nights. And even though my dad was from International Falls, he played basketball and football in the Falls. He played hockey, but just down at the rink at the park. So I was a rink rat to him. He was always kind of disappointed I wasn't a wrestler, but I had some other ranger dads around the neighborhood that had rinks in the backyard, and I gravitated quick in the winter to hockey. So, and it was just a thing, like most of us. I'm sure you guys too. Like in the summer, we played baseball, went fishing and golfed, and the fall we played football, and in the winter we played hockey or basketball, and we played everything. We played everything, tennis, everything. And so I just was lucky enough I had great neighborhood. I had, of about the 7 or 8 real close buddies we had in our neighborhood within, 5 or 6 houses, there was 5 out of the 7 of us played Division I sports.
Wow. Cow.
And we actually had a Badger and one of them, Timmy Thomas, was my neighbor, a good buddy of mine, was Chris Chelios' partner for a couple of years in the Badgers. So anyway, that's just the way it was growing up. We lived real close to a park, and so we did everything.
But you were really good. I mean, some folks participate, but you were really good. And evidently, you were really, really good in baseball. Did you ever have an interaction with, maybe some Minnesota people know a guy named Kent Herbeck?
Yeah, Herbie was a couple years or 3 years older than me. And he was from Bloomington, Kennedy, which is east side of Bloomington, which is just 494. The highway separates Richfield and Bloomington. So the two communities battle in baseball, all sports, all the time. And Herbie was a legend growing up, like even as a little leaguer. Like it was all of our buddies that were older, like, well, you got to see this Herbie kid. He can hit it a mile, blah, blah, blah. He's, 6'4", and he's in 8th grade. And Herbie was a living legend and a hell of a player, really good guy. He's a big hockey guy too. Like he's a big sports fan and big fisherman too. So I'm a big Herbie fan.
Nice.
We're going to get into the school here and your success, but I want to touch on the fact that you played multiple sports. Do you believe or do you think kids at the younger level should expand and play more than one sport?
Yeah. Yes, I do. I'm shocking everybody, I think, by saying yes, I do. I unequivocally, yes. Yes, you should. There's so many things that cross over skills and things like that, and just playing an individual sport versus a team sport, learning how to. Sometimes it's great to be humbled playing another sport where you're not the best player. You're a competitive player, but you're not the best player. And how do you fit into a team then? How do you lose yourself within a group to help your team win when you're not the best player? I think there's a lot of worth as skill development, as athleticism, team, all of these things I think are fantastic playing multiple sports.
Mogi and I have been an advocate of that, and we run across many parents who strive to have their child in one particular sport because they believe that that's what they need to do to develop the skills. Mm-hmm. But as we talk to people like yourself or even NHLers who played multiple sports up until like 8th or 9th grade, and their mindset was that helped them in those skill sets that you're talking about.
and I think the science will prove it out too.
I agree
Like if
with
you
that.
actually dig into the science of it, it is a fact that it will help you as an athlete if you play multiple sports.
Do you think there's a particular age where it's okay to then start focusing? I mean, you think at 14, 15?
Yeah, and who's to say? Like I don't know what that age is.
Sure.
But I think I think and maybe you fall out of love with the sport too. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you are super passionate about one or two sports, and maybe that's what you do through high school, and you find yourself, hopefully diving into being lucky enough to play college athletics and follow, one sport or, hopefully two if you can. That'd be awesome. I was lucky enough to be able to do that. Yes, I think that there's time for paring it down with this, and a lot of it's geographical too. Like, where am I have to go to skate? Where do I have to go to practice? Where do I have to go to be on this team or be on that team? Or where do I got to go to the range to hit balls at this course? Or, am I playing in this junior PGA thing in Toledo this weekend and I can't go to my, baseball tournament up in, Wausau or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's things that tug on families and tug on you, time restraints. And I get it too. There's a lot of money too that these families invest in their children nowadays. It's not, we used to sell leaf bags door to door to play football in the fall, you know what I mean? Or sell boxes of candy to play football. And it's different nowadays. I get that. You never go back. You can never go back to the way it was. But I do think if there's a will, there's a way, that you can play multiple sports, and even being in a community sport, you don't have to be in a traveling sport. Like if you're a better player as a baseball player, you're more advanced as a baseball player, and you want to play hockey. There's nothing wrong with house league hockey. Like, you don't have to play travel hockey. You can play house league hockey and still be an athlete and enjoy it. And you don't have to be great at anything. You should just participate. I think that's the biggest message.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about you now as far as your youth. You're playing multiple sports, and you began to excel in hockey, which you developed into a collegiate sport. What position were you playing, and how did you end up choosing hockey as the sport that brought you in the direction it did?
I was a forward as a little guy, and then started to play defense in Bantams. And it was just because, like, we only had 3 lines and 4D and a goalie. And so our coach said, hey, you can play more if you play D. And I said, I'm in. Count me in. I'm in. Count me in. So I started playing defense, and, it was a fish in water kind of a thing. The game was in front of me a little bit. And I try to do it here even, if there's a kid who just kind of blends in as a forward, for instance, might have some skills that they might be able to really become a good player if they move on the back end, and the play is in front of them more, and they might have a little bit more physicality to their game or what have you. And there might be some players that are playing D that should be playing forward because they have no interest in playing defense. It's part of the job description. If you're a defenseman, you need to play defense. And if you're not interested in doing that, then you should play forward. And so we try to help the kids here find that. And I was lucky growing up. Excuse me. I had some great coaching and great fathers around and mentors in my neighborhood and in my hometown. And they were helpful. It wasn't anything about, hey, you got to do this, you got to do that. But hey, you should actually try to do this. And when we were little, we grew up playing and learning how to play hockey at the park, where it was 10 on 10, 12 on 12. I mean, that's where it wasn't 5 on 5 or 3 on 3. We didn't have any cones out there. We didn't have any tires out there. We just went and played. It was like pickup basketball. It was like pickup hockey. It's the same idea. And so you never had a position. You never played D. You never played forward. You just had the puck and you were playing hockey. And so in my generation, there's lots and lots of guys that grew up that the only time they ever played a position is when they played in an arena when the scoreboard was on. They never played in a position before that. So
sure. Wow. Okay. What skill set did you have in this game that you started to get looks from colleges?
I don't really know specifically. other than we were lucky. I grew up in a time where we had great athletes in my age group around where we played, like the communities around us, Bloomington, Edina, Minnetonka, excuse me, St. Louis Park, Robbinsdale area, just tons of great athletes. And so we were lucky enough for every conference game we played in every sport, we were playing against the top players in every sport in the state of Minnesota and the Twin Cities area. And I happened to do okay. I competed with those guys. And I think I wasn't the only guy that was getting recruited at that time. There's a bunch of guys in my area and my era that were getting recruited. And I was just lucky enough to have a forum to go out and play in front of some guys that thought I might be able to help their college teams.
So speaking of college teams, you ended up going to the Gophers, and my understanding is you played hockey and baseball there.
Yeah.
How the heck did you do that?
Didn't eat very many dinners at the dorm. I think my freshman year I sat down and had dinner at the dorm, 3 or 4 times. I always had to pick up my sandwiches at the front desk when I got back from baseball practice. But it was awesome. I wouldn't trade it for anything. It was some long days. When it was still decent weather, I'd have hockey and I'd get back in, and after our skate, I'd have my glove and my sweats and underneath my stall and switch out. And we were lucky at the U, we have tunnels underneath the streets. And so I could just get in the tunnels and take off across to Cook Hall, where it was an indoor dirt floor. It was built for track, but we had winter baseball practice in there too. They had an infield all netted off, and we could play long toss, catch, and had cages and live batting and batting cages. And so I could run over there and get some AB in and take some infield and play catch. And and in the fall, would run across the bridge over the railroad tracks over to Seabird Field and get to play some, get in the last few innings of the fall World Series that we always had. But it was busy times, but it was great. It was awesome.
I was in that
lucky.
field house you mentioned. It was set up for track. We had some high school track meets there. So I ran the 2 mile back in the day.
There you go. A lot of dust by the end of that one.
By the end of that one, I mean, you're blowing your nose, and it's not pretty after the race.
No,
Especially where I was in the race, right?
Well, yeah, if you're eating dust too, that's a problem. But it was super great. Like it was, I was super fortunate to be able to compete in 2 sports in the Big Ten. Something I'm really proud of, actually.
You should
huge
be.
accomplishment, yeah.
You were a driven athlete. How do you take that drive, that desire, and transfer it into your coaching style here at Shattucks St. Mary's?
The expectations are high here. I always had high expectations for myself, or had pride in a good performance, or doing the best I possibly could. And I think that's something that we live by here. That's our credo, is just do the best you can. And the expectations are high here. We're lucky we get a very competitive group of young athletes here, male and female. They're driven. That's one of the things that brings them to this, the farm fields here in Faribault, is they're driven. They're all kind of birds of a feather. And a lot of places in high school, that's hard to find. I think you find that more when you get to college. If you go to a good college program and that's an established program and it's got some, tradition and what have you, you kind of fall into line with that, and that's what you're kind of searching for as a young athlete. And I think that's what we have here. We're lucky. We just kind of do what we do, and the kids kind of are what they are, and but I think it's because we're prideful in what we do.
So let's go back to your playing career, especially when you're with the Gophers. You decided to play baseball and hockey there, which is awesome. Did you have any other opportunities to go play any of those sports anywhere else?
Yeah. As a youngster or as a college player, I had opportunities to go south to play baseball, Oklahoma State, USC, and some different places, Arizona State. But go for baseball. When I played, was as good as anybody. We played in the national tournament every year.
Coach Anderson?
Coach Anderson, yeah. And so we we were as good as anybody, so there was no reason to. And when Big Ten was great back then, Michigan won it when I was a junior, I think, when they had Jimmy Abbott and Kwasniewski and all of Chris Sabo and all those guys, Barry Larkin.
Wow.
Big Ten baseball was really good. We beat the number one team in the country 3 or 4 times when I was playing. Our baseball was good. And hockey had all the local schools, UMD, UND, Wisconsin, Michigan. But my mom wanted me to be a gopher. Like, we've had season tickets, football season tickets there. Well, I guess I still have them. And I think we're going on 70 some years of having gopher football tickets.
That's
so
dedication.
I remember Coach Johnson and was sitting at our kitchen table, and he had the tender in a manila envelope sitting in the middle of the table, and him and Grant Stanbrook and my mom, and they were, they wanted me to come and sign it. They were going to take it with them, bring it back to Madison, and they were going to go to Dave Maley's house, who was a Badger, ended up being a Badger right after they stopped at our house.
Was he a Bloomington kid?
He's an Edina kid.
Edina kid, okay.
And my mom just looked them both in the eye, and she said, "You guys are wasting your time. My boy's going to be a gopher."
Shut him down.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah. So I'm sitting there twiddling my thumbs at the end of the table. And so Coach Johnson said, "We'll give you some time to think about it." So he pushes it in the middle. He said, "We'll leave this with you." And so it was cordial and everything, and they ended up going over to Maley's house, and he calls me about 10:30. He says, "Oh, this is going to be great. We'll room together, blah, blah, blah." And I said, "David," he said, "I didn't sign the tender." He said, "My mom wouldn't let me go. My mom ain't going to let me go." And he's like, "What?" He said, had this all planned out, blah, 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 blah. And I had gotten to know David through the recruiting process. I actually I'd met him, and I played against him growing up, but never really knew Davey. Until we started going on some recruiting trips, and so we actually became good friends. And my neighbor, Timmy Thomas, was playing over there at the same time, and so I had to fend off David, and I had to fend off the Thomases at the same time. And but at the end of the day, it turned out good. Everything happens for a reason, and I was lucky to be a Gopher.
Any interactions with those coaches when you went down to Madison to play? Or
they're super great. Like, Grant has always been one of my biggest mentors, and Coach Johnson, great. Every time we see him, "Hello, Tommy, how you doing?" No, it wasn't a personal thing. It was
nice.
They're professional.
Yeah.
It was great. No, it was really
nice.
good.
They probably didn't enjoy going up against you, though.
Well, I wasn't very good, so they probably liked going against me. But it was always fun.
Back.
I mean, there's nothing like going to play in Dane County, and it was and playing against Timmy too when he was playing there, and just all of us. We all knew each other, except for the guys at Wisco that were from BC or whatever, and they did have a couple, like Johnny Newberry and some of these guys that were really good. But we all kind of knew who each other was and everything. So it's in the whole league back then. Like, even all the guys at Duluth, all the guys at North Dakota, everybody knew each other. Half the teams were Minnesotans back then. So
sure.
We all kind of knew at least a handful of guys on each team.
The thing about it is, back when you were playing, it was you and UMD, the Gophers and UMD, that was it.
Yeah.
Now it's a whole different ballgame with, the
Minnesota State and Bemidji and all of them.
Sure, St. Cloud.
Yeah, St. Cloud, yeah.
Yeah, St. Thomas now too.
Yeah, oh man, forgot about St. Thomas. Don't sleep on the Tommies.
No,
they got a chance
not.
to be a really
CCHA,
good program.
baby.
Yep, they got a chance to be a really good program.
Yeah.
When you were getting recruited, you mentioned, of course, your mom made the decision for you. But were you going in as a defenseman at that time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
And what did the Gophers like about you in particular?
I think I was kind of a steady guy. I could skate decent. I could do some stuff on the power play. I always could shoot the puck. My high school coach always used to say, "Well, yeah, when Ward gets a puck at the point, the safest place is to stand right in the middle of the net because he can't hit the net." But I could shoot it a little bit. And I actually could play defense. I took pride in being a defenseman. But back then, at Minnesota, Wisconsin, for sure, we had JV programs too back then. And so when I went to Minnesota, I was one of 14 defensemen.
Holy cow.
Like there was 14D there when my freshman year. And I'm sure there was close to that in Madison too. And so Duluth had a JV team. There's a couple teams that had junior varsity teams too that had extra guys. But it was a battle. It was a thing, and it was a proud moment to get a stall in the varsity room as a Gopher player, because there's a solid 50 guys there playing.
And you did that as a freshman after no junior experience.
Right. Yep. Went right out of high school as an 18-year-old.
Wow.
You learn quick, or you don't survive. Like, you got to learn to survive. Looking back at it, and having played with some guys that played junior, the St. Paul Vulcans were a huge feeder to the Gophers, and I was lucky enough to spend some time at the Vulcans too. And so a lot of my teammates either played there or the Junior Stars. Bloomington Junior Stars was another franchise in the USHL that fed the Gophers heavy. And I got to be good friends with those guys that had played junior. And I'm walking out the door, and these guys still got 2 more years to play. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, man, if I'd had 2 more years to play, I would have been a better player. Sure. And so I think, I'm not saying that either is right or wrong, other than as 20/20 hindsight, I should have played junior before I went. But then it would have fudged up the baseball part of it too. Like, they wanted me to come as a freshman, and I played as a freshman, and you don't know if that spot's still going to be there after you play a year or two junior or whatever. So
sure.
Well,
Plus 2 years away from the game.
Right.
Yeah.
Playing summer ball, but that's about it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Oh, sure. You must have been playing well enough, though. You ended up getting drafted by the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, that was a lucky day. Like, now back then, I mean, nobody went to the draft like it is today. There was a draft. There's the drafts today. Well, okay, what else have I got to do today? I mean, you just went around your day. I remember I was sitting in a buddy's back porch. I don't know what we were doing, playing wiffle ball or something, I think, actually in somebody's back porch in his backyard. He lived next to a park, Washington Park in Richfield, and all of a sudden the old man comes walking out the back door. He says, "Hey, you just got drafted." And I'm like, "Really? By who?" He says, "Winnipeg." And I said, "Really? That's awesome." And so the other buddies all came up and, gave me a small smack on the head. But, yeah, super proud moment. Very, very fortunate to get drafted. Not many guys get to get drafted, so
true.
I'm proud of that.
So 3 years with the Gophers in hockey.
Yep.
Why only 3?
I had elbow surgery after my freshman year in baseball.
Oh.
And so I didn't.
Are you a lefty?
Lefty, yeah,
yeah.
left-hander. And so I didn't play baseball for a year and a half. I couldn't throw for a year and a half, so I didn't play at all my sophomore year, and just started to get back to throwing my junior year. And then I had played just hockey pretty much, all just hockey my sophomore year, and then a little bit of everything, getting back in the swing of the next year, my third year. And then my first year back playing baseball really went good. I had a good season, my fourth season of baseball really went well. And so I could tell in hockey I wasn't no kind of special player as a hockey player. I could hang in there, I could play. But I wasn't 6'4". The way I played, if I was 6'3" or 6'4" and 225, it would have made a difference. Mm-hmm. But I never was 6 foot in the program. So I just thought to myself, man, if you're going to make it in pro something, you got a better chance to do it in baseball.
Sure.
And so I chucked all my eggs in that basket after that year and played 2 straight years of baseball to end my career at the U. And figures, the guys went and played in the NCAA tournament my senior year, all the guys I came in with and everything. But that's why the numbers are weird. It's because I had this and then I did that.
Did you play any baseball after college? Any pro at all?
Oh, that's another story. My dad passed away when I was just turning 10. And so I had a couple years where I was I needed to get my butt kicked after that. And I was lucky because Mr. Thomas, who was Timmy's dad, the Red Badger guy, my mom just gave him carte blanche. She says, if you want a third boy, you carte blanche, whatever you see here, whatever I need some help here. And so he was great. And he came into my life and was my pseudo dad. But long story longer about playing pro. I could have signed pro. The Major League Baseball draft was after the NHL draft my senior year in high school. And so I was drafted in the National Hockey League before the Major League Baseball draft was. And so I didn't get drafted in the Major League Baseball draft. But throughout the summer, I had a chance to sign with the Dodgers, the Royals, Baltimore, and the Reds over the summertime and said, no, thank you. I actually went to the sports festival. They used to have those sports festivals for Olympic prospects, and played on the baseball team there and won the gold medal. And after my last year of ball, I had some opportunities to go play rookie league ball. And in my wisdom, they were offering me chances to go play rookie league ball, like in Tennessee, like the rookie league, like Elizabethton with the Twins and stuff like that. And in these different short league rookie leagues, like the 64-game rookie leagues. And I just said to these guys, I said, I just played against all these guys. I mean, and I've showed you what I could do, and I'm a competitive player with these group of guys. Send me to the full year rookie ball. Send me to Visalia. Send me to the California League. Send me to the Pioneer League where I can jump in with some guys that are my age, because I was older, because I had my fifth year. I had played my fifth year because of my elbow surgery. And I said, give me a chance with these guys. That's why I'll sign for nothing. I don't need a sign bonus. I don't need nothing. I'll just show up and play for your minimum. $200 a week or whatever. And specifically, it got down to the Twins and the Cubs, and I just dug my heels in the dirt and made a bad decision and never did go. And I was proving them right and proving me wrong. So I never did play. And I said the same thing to the North Stars. I got traded to the North Stars, and they invited me to camp, and I said no thanks to camp too. So it was I had a whirlwind of bad professional opportunity decisions in about 18 months span that I have wisdom that I can pass on to others. So now any of these guys here that I have ever coached ever, I will tell them to play and keep playing and play. And unless you fall out of love with the game, which then you can make that decision, or your body tells you can't play anymore, play, because someone will tell you you're not good enough at some point. Don't do it yourself.
Yeah.
So,
wow, that is wisdom.
So that's my sob story.
We're going to give a quick shout out to a couple sponsors. Riverside Bike and Skate, Eau Claire's hockey headquarters, which is the oldest hockey store in the state of Wisconsin. Buy hockey gear from the people that play and know the game. And don't forget about their bicycle sales and service, as well as your paddle sports center for kayaks and canoes. And thanks to our friends at Market & Johnson, longtime supporters of the great game of hockey and our youth throughout the Chippewa Valley region of Wisconsin. Moog.
So, Coach, you got right into coaching after graduation. You assisted at your alma mater, Richfield High School, for 3 years as a hockey coach. Did you always see yourself coaching after your playing career was over?
Yeah. As soon as I made those brilliant decisions about not playing anymore, it was full go coaching. I was going to coach because I didn't want to ever have to have a real job, and my wife will tell me that to this day. I've never had a real job, and I don't think I've ever had a real job. I've been super fortunate, and so it was 100% into coaching at that point.
Nice.
You jumped into, some high school coaching. And we're in a little bit of the USHL, or the juniors, I should say. Mm-hmm. But then you ended up joining the Gophers coaching staff under Doug Woog.
Yeah.
Well, can you let him talk about when he coached the Vulcans, though?
Absolutely. Let's go backwards.
Yeah. Give me a hit. Give me somewhere to start.
Yeah. So you were an assistant with the Vulcans for 3 years, and then you became the head coach.
Yeah.
What'd you learn?
Well, I was super lucky to have back in high school when I was back there. I coached everything: football, baseball, hockey, all 3 sports for 3 years, which was great. And then got a chance to go with the Vulcans with a former teammate of mine, Mike Genzel, and another.
Jake's dad.
Jake's father, yes, exactly. Jake is his son for all of us that know Mike.
Yes. I'm sure he appreciates it.
And Kevin Hartzell, another gopher, was with the Vulcans and before that. And the Hubbards, Channel 5, ABC station here in the Twin Cities, that Western Wisconsin people know Channel 5, I'm sure. They owned the Vulcans. Hubbard Broadcasting, the greatest people, hockey people on the face of the planet. And so I was lucky enough to go help with Gents, and when he moved on to the Omaha Lancers then for Frank Serratori when Frank went to the University of Denver. I was lucky enough to just saddle up and take over the head coach and GM job from Mike when he left. It was awesome. It was the best training I've ever had as a human being, because that thing was, back then, it was, if you were the coach and GM, you did everything. You sold tickets, you sold advertising in the program, you recruited, you did the draft, you did everything. And basically the Hubbards just said, don't waste my money and help these kids get to college, and handed me the keys, and just, it was like, go, it's your deal. It was awesome. It was fantastic.
Were you still flying? Were they flying you guys?
Occasionally we did. But the insurance had gotten so high to fly a team in their plane that we didn't get to fly. That was right before I got there. When Hartz was there, they flew all over the place.
My brother played for a year with Kevin Hartz.
Did he?
And he kind of felt like he missed some of the experience by not bussing.
Yeah.
You know, you fly to the game, you play the game, you fly home.
Yep.
You don't have that 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hour bus ride with the boys. You didn't play the cards. Yep. And he kind of felt like he missed a little bit
really?
of the junior
That's
experience.
interesting, because that is a thing. Like junior's a great time. I mean, we've all been 18, right? Like, and it was a riot when you're 18. You're bulletproof, you're a Superman, you were everything. You wanted to get away from your folks and be your own guy.
Because you do everything at 18.
You're an expert. Yeah, you're an expert. And it's a great walkabout for kids. Like, and we were lucky. Like, we ran it as much like we could as a Division I program. Proud of the way that the Hubbards enabled us to run it. We had great kids. Actually, we just had our big Shattuck golf tournament last Friday. And I played with 3 of my guys I coached at the Vulcans.
Oh, nice.
It was unreal cool and great. Keep in touch with a lot of those Vulcan guys. It's a great crew of people, salty guys. I'm proud to have been a Vulcan.
Sorry about that. Go back to your.
Oh, no problem.
No, Vulcans need a touch.
Need to shout out. Yeah,
sure.
Absolutely. Big part of your career.
Yep,
well, that's
100%.
great, because then it segues into, you made the jump to the University of Minnesota. What happened there? Did they come calling? Did you apply?
We were lucky because it kind of was the Vulcan thing like Herbie had been the coach of the Vulcans. Doug had been the coach of the Vulcans. And we had all of us that were there at that time had Vulcan ties, whether we played there or coached there or what have you. And I'd known Doug's boys played for us with the Vulcans, Stevie and Boomer. And so we had known each other for a long time, and I was fortunate enough and lucky enough to join their staff. And Mike Genzel was there too, so it was great, awesome.
What did you learn during that time with Doug Woog?
I'm a fan. Like, Doug takes some nasty criticism I know out in the hockey world, because he never won a national championship at Minnesota. But if Randy Scarda's shot against Harvard would have went off the post and in, Doug would have been held in as high a regard as Herbie Brooks. And he probably wouldn't have won a gold medal in 1980, but, you know, he was the guy that couldn't win the big one or whatever. We had some fantastic teams, fantastic players. I learned so much from Doug. He's a tactician of the game, and he was a great athlete. He came to the U as a football player. And then
Little
he'd
guy, too.
come to play hockey. Yeah. He was lucky because Marouche came and offered him a chance to play because they lost a couple recruits and they asked Doug to play. And he gave Doug scholarship money to go play hockey. And that was that was the reason that we were just Minnesota. We were 100% Minnesotan when we coached there. And Doug said that's the reason why. It's because Marouche gave him a chance and he's going to pay that back.
Wow.
It's kind of a cool story.
That's a very cool story. Kind of getting goosebumps.
Yeah.
So, Coach, you took the chance to jump to Shattucks St. Mary's High School, located right here in Faribault, Minnesota, in 1999 and served as a coach there through 2006 before becoming the hockey director there through 2016. Tell us about how this phenomenal hockey school, tell us about that and what's so special about this place.
You know, this is about the 125,000th time I've been asked that question.
Mr. Original here.
I would ask the same question because I asked it when I came. I have no idea. I really don't. Like, we have this thing called the inquiry form that every family has to fill out if they're interested in coming to our program. And most years we'll bring in 20 Bantam kids and another dozen high school age players. So we're talking 30 to 40 kids a year. And we had 1,400 inquiries last year.
Holy crap.
Yeah. And it's real expensive to go to school here.
How do you whittle it down to?
Well, we're lucky because the hockey world's that big.
Yeah.
And so, everything's on video nowadays, and I can make a phone call to a guy that knows the guy's dad or knows the kid or coaches the kid or whatever. And the number one thing is we want to find good kids, good families. Like being a good guy has been the number one thing here forever, and it's going to be as long as I'm sitting there. And so that's the thing we search out the first thing we do. And then if they have requisite talent, they're good people, and they can, somehow make the thing meet with tuition and fees, then, it comes together. But ice time is the thing. Like ice time, we've got 3 rinks here. You can potentially skate 4 or 5 hours every day, once hockey season starts. We've got ice in the morning from 6 to before school starts, before your first hour. You're either going to start at 8 or 9 o'clock will be your first class. And so you can get up here and skate an hour or two before school and shower up and get down and back, go brekkie and get to class and come out here. There's all of our practices, but 2 are in the school day. And so the kids will come up here after 2 or 3 hours of school. They'll have an hour and a half off, and then it's either married on the front side of lunch or the back side of lunch. So you either have lunch and come and skate, or you skate and then you go to lunch. Or it ends the school day. You walk out like you have their last 2 periods of the day would be out here at the rink. That's what our oldest team, our top team, does. And so it's ice time. Like, what's the pixie dust here? How does it happen? Well, A, we got really good players that come here, and we haven't screwed them up, knock on wood. And they like it here. Their families, their folks like it here. They think they get better here. And it's not all hockey here. It's like the thing that some of these academies and these startups and these online places, they don't understand that the school down the way here is what is the difference. Like, that's the difference. Being a boarding school is a difference. It's a difference. Where these kids they're brothers. Like, they're like the show, the military show. They're a band of brothers. Like, these guys are a band of brothers. And when it gets down to crunch time, they go play for each other. They're not, they're not in it for over here. They're in it for us, for them. And that's a thing. It's a real thing. It was Craig Norwich had the leap of faith, to get this thing up and running, and then JP dug his heels in, and Larry Hendrickson had been here, Mike had been here. There had been some really good hockey people here, and we've just got it now, and we're trying not to screw the thing up, and we'll hand it off to the next group of people.
Tell me what the morning skate looks like. Is it non-structured?
Yeah, non-structured in the morning. I'm a firm believer in pickup. I'm a firm believer in, we're not doing our jobs as coaches if you're one of my players and you don't understand the things you need to improve on in your game, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are. And we should have, in practice, done drill work to try to show you some stuff that you can use, replicate, repeat, 10,000 rep rule that you can get out and work out on your own. And you can try to get your brain wrapped around it. How does it work best for me? Like, here's the technique, here's the skill, but we're not robots, we're not lever hockey players. Like, you might do it, we're going to get the same thing at the end, we're going to accomplish the same thing, but how we get there might be a little bit different. And that's perfectly fine. And it's good for you to go through that in your brain to figure it out, like, figure it out. And so that's a thing. Like, so long answer to your short question is it's unstructured before school. They grab a bucket of pucks, get a handful of guys, and guys and girls. It's co-educational. Like that's what why we have, like, the boys program. We like to slap ourselves on the back all the time, but our girls program is way more accomplished. Like, in the grand scheme of things, percentage-wise, of great players that have come through our school and moved on into the hockey world. Like, we've had some, like, every year you watch the Olympics, you watch the World Championships, you watch Team Canada and Team USA play, and there's 15 to 20 kids on those rosters that played here.
Wow.
And the women's hockey here is unreal. Like, there is no junior for women. And they play 19-year-old women's here. And so it's incredible. Like, the Lamoureux twins and the Decker and all these girls here, the Kessels, like, these girls are unreal. And they jump out there and play with the guys, and you couldn't, unless you can see the ponytail hanging out the back of their helmet, especially the Lamoureux. The Lamoureux are killers. Like, the Lamoureux twins are the greatest ever. I love the twins. They were the hardest. They would make our guys look sick in the weight room and how hard they worked and how diligently they trained and how they went out and they would rip the puck away from guys and go the other way and bang them into the boards. And that's a thing. Like, so unstructured before school, co-ed, and it's survival of the fittest kind of out there.
Wow. Let's talk about what's behind you. There's a board there with a lot of autographs.
Yeah.
So are these guys that went on to play college, or is this just random signatures that you asked? Tell us about this board.
The board here is everybody that's graduated from our school. Like, the name of this room is an alumni room. And it's mainly for the kids that have graduated from our school. Because it's a thing. There's a lot of things that are tugging at people. The CHL, the USHL, the National Team Development Program. There's a bunch of things that are tugging at these kids and telling these kids that if you don't go, you won't. Well, that's a lie. You don't have to go, and you will. And these kids had perseverance, and they stayed, and they deserve an attaboy and an attagirl because it's hard here. School is hard, the day is hard, but it's great, and they've learned to love it. And so they deserve to have their names up here forever. Like, it's a thing.
Wow,
that's amazing.
That's a heck of a tribute.
Kudos to you folks that are on that.
That's 100%.
An awesome thing. So back in the day, Shattuck St. Mary used to play in the Minnesota State High School Hockey League.
Right.
Or Minnesota State High School League in hockey and probably all your other
Every
sports.
Sport,
So at what point did you decide to make the change and go to the midget AAA type of program instead of sticking with the Minnesota State High School League?
Yeah,
why did you do that?
That was another Badger, Craig Norwich.
Okay, yep.
Great player from Edina. He was done with his playing career. He played for a few hundred games in the NHL, and then he went overseas and played for a long time in Europe. And Craig somehow got to know some of the parents that were on the team before he came into the program and just started feeling around, what's going on here, this, that, and the other thing. Visionary guy, like super bright, intelligent man. And he said he saw that because he had been outside of the state of Minnesota. Like, we kind of have our heads in the sand here, kind of ostrich about our thing here in Minnesota. And he had seen other parts of the North America, other parts of the world, how kids are training, how kids are coming through and developing into players. And he said, why can't we take the best of what we do here in Minnesota and combine it with some of the best stuff that's going on outside? And he asked the State High School League if they could play an expanded schedule, play 40 games or what have you. And they said no. And he said, we'd have to kick you out of the State High School League. And he said, well, then we quit. And so we walked out of the State High School League, and then we had to play totally independent and join Minnesota Hockey. Minnesota Hockey still plays midget, but it's more of community. It is community based, like all Minnesota hockey is, and so there's not a lot of teams and cities that have midget programs. Mostly the cities that have gigantic youth hockey, they still have midget. They still had midget, and so Craig decided to go, and we went and joined forces now with USA Hockey. We were USA Hockey sanctioned, not Minnesota High School Hockey sanctioned, okay. Because Minnesota Hockey ends after Bantams, and or the teams that are playing midget or junior gold. Like that is where Minnesota Hockey ends. And so Minnesota State High School League is a completely different entity than Minnesota Hockey. It's not. It's its own thing. The Minnesota State High School, which is great. I'm a fan. I was there, and I'm a product of it. I'm for it. They're a standalone, and so we had to get out of that thing and go into USA Hockey. And so now we're Minnesota Hockey, USA Hockey, and that's how we go about it. And Craig had enough guts to do it, and go out and try to find kids that wanted to come to a teeny tiny little military private prep school, and and we did it to keep the lights on. Like, the thing was shrinking. Like, it was down to in the hundreds of students here, and so we needed a way to keep the lights on. And we had a thing. We had a rink. That was our biggest asset.
Big draw.
Yeah, it was our biggest asset. And so that's how it all started with Craig. And Craig just was a bulldog, and he got his teeth into the thing, and he would not take no for an answer from anybody.
You mentioned a 40-game schedule. What is your yearly schedule for games, and then what other USA areas are you playing in?
We play, minimum would be 50, and we try to play between 50 and 60, but more towards 50 than 60. Depends upon how many tournaments you get in and how far you go in tournaments and things like that. We try to keep 5 or 6 practices per game as our ratio. And so we practice. We're the anti-Allen Iverson. It is practice, man. It's practice.
Anti-Allen Iverson.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
I think Al had it all wrong. Like, it is practice, man. It's practice. So we practice, and we play, and we do that because our season's long. We start September 1 and we end, the first or second week in April, so we can have that many practices and have that many games. We're not believers in multiple games in a day. We like to train the kids into how to play, how to go to bed the night before, how to have a day game, or day during your before your game, how to eat, how to get ready, all that stuff, how to have a post game, how to get ready for the game the next day or 2 days from now or whatever. Like, that's just as much part of being a good athlete as playing as many games as you can in a weekend. Like, I get that. I understand that that's part of it, but for some people, because they have a lot of money and they live in California or Salt Lake City or whatever, and they travel, they travel all over the country and they got to play games. So, but we travel around the Midwest. Our closest competitor used to be the Madison Capitals. They play some of our teams here. Our top team doesn't play their team anymore. Our closest team is probably Culver. We've got a little prep school league that we're starting that we're going to probably try to grow a little bit. We have teams in Boston and Rhode Island and Indiana and Toronto. And we play in the Minnesota High School Elite League in the fall, which is great for our guys. Mm-hmm. And it's great financially for us because it's right up in the Twin Cities. And I think it's mutually beneficial. We make that league better and they make us better. Team Wisconsin plays in that league. They're always got a real competitive group. So that's basically who we play. We try to have some kind of travel experience because we have long breaks in our school year like a college. Like, our school is more of like a college than it is a high school because we got a unique school day that's catered towards our kids' practice and whatnot. And it's a boarding school, and we travel a lot. And so the kids have to get ready to, travel, but the school and the teachers we only miss 3 or 4 school days a year, which is crazy, which is great. And so we really do a good job trying to do our scheduling such that we do it in certain times and know how our school works and when we test and when all that kind of stuff is going on. And we like to host events here too. And so it's a unique thing. There's no doubt about it.
How are you traveling? Are you traveling?
Bus. We drive to Calgary. We drive to New Hampshire. We drive to Toronto. We drive everywhere. The only place that if we're going to L.A. or Vegas or whatever, we'll fly because west is a long ways. So we will fly there, but we don't spend a lot of time on the West Coast. It's a lot of time.
So you got sleeper buses for the kids?
No, not usually. If you're a hockey player, you're an athlete, you name it, whatever league you're in the National Hockey League, NHL teams bus to games. I mean, they don't fly to every game. So, you got to learn how to play off a bus. You got to learn how to get on the bus with your sweats on, and when you're hour out, switch into your suit and tie and get ready to go and show up and have your tail wagging, and because they're waiting for you when you get there. You better be ready to go. And there's an art to playing off the bus, and that's one of the things we like to try to teach kids.
Wow. If you've got a percentage, what is that percentage of kids that get out of this high school and go on to college? Not necessarily play college sports, but at least make it to college.
You mean that have an athletic part of their life, or that just people that come to our school that aren't in athletics?
Well, I'm wondering about kids that are coming here. Obviously, are coming primarily for athletics because
most of them, yeah.
Yeah. But you take all of the high school kids that are in the graduating class. Mm-hmm. How many of them go on to college?
Boy, all but just a couple.
Okay. So you're in the 99 percentile.
Ish, yeah. Above 98, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So are you looking to know if they go to college or if they participate in sports in college?
I was just looking to see how many actually went to college, not necessarily
sports.
Even
the kids that gravitate here, we've got things we call centers of excellence. So we got hockey center of excellence, figure skating center of excellence, soccer. We've got STEM school center of excellence. So we've got people coming here from Mayo Clinic and U of M hospitals and all these people coming in here, Sanford Medical, to help, talk to our kids. And, I couldn't care less whether you're a general student here or you're a high octane athlete here. You just got to move on because you're going to be a civilian. You better be a good dad first. You better be a good mom first. You better be a good person first. You better make this place a better place somehow, some way, make this world a better place. And you figure that out. That's on you to figure out. And we're just here to kind of hopefully give you a good push down the runway. And then you got to go, brother. It's your time. And I really think our school does a good job of preparing young people for the big bad world out there, because certainly is one.
So, Tom, you had a chance to become an assistant coach for Team USA at the World Juniors in 2010. Probably a great memory for you. You guys won a gold medal. This team had some bona fide future NHL stars. You had Jack Campbell, John Carlson, Cam Fowler, Jake Gardner, Tyler Johnson, Chris Kreider, Kyle Palmieri, Derek Stepan, and Jason Zucker, just to name some.
Yeah.
What made these guys so special?
Well, first of all, I couldn't have done it without Coach Blaze giving me a chance to go. And another Badger, Marco Siki, was with us there. Oz, great guys, great staff. I mean, from the trainers, equipment guys, doctors, everything. What a great experience. And it was in Saskatoon, too. It was in Canada, which was awesome because I have nothing better than to beat Canadians. So
I like it.
It was awesome. We were lucky. We had some guys that bought in, and they wanted to win. They wanted to win. I'll never forget. We had camp at Ingolstadt up in North End, Grand Forks, and we had just got done. We played the Sioux in an exhibition game, and we were loading the bus because we were driving up to Regina after the game, and the Sioux guys, they were going on break, so they were walking out. It was all kind of a casual thing. Coach Haxtell was around, so we were just all kind of shooting the breeze by the bus. And there's a bunch of bags laying outside the bus, team bags, like player bags. And here comes Derek Stepan. He's one of us. And all of a sudden, he sets his bag down and puts his bag down and starts grabbing bags. Whew, 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 whew. Packing the bus, crawling inside, making sure all the bags fit and everything. And I look at him, I just start smiling. And Blazer bangs me on the arm. Me and Ozzy says, "There's our captain."
Yeah.
Oh.
And so Steps is our captain with all these big wheel guys, all these entity peers, all this kind of stuff. The guy that was a late bloomer from Hastings, Minnesota. Wonderful kid, wonderful man, wonderful player. I wish he would have been a Gopher, to be perfectly frank. But he was a Badger with his buddy Jordy Murray. But man, so what experience? Fantastic. Beat the Canadians in Canada. It was awesome. Thanks to Blazer for letting me come and join on the ride.
Yeah, congratulations.
Awesome.
Good for you.
Can you give just a quick rundown of some of the names that have come through this academy that have gone on to play in the NHL?
Wow. Eves boys, Parisi, Zach Parisi, Drew Stafford, Sidney, Jonathan Taves, and you just keep on going, like Derek Stepan. The last Mac Celebrini hopefully does. He's just the first pick overall. Mac was here. We've had a bunch of guys. It's fun to watch NHL now on TV because I can just sit on the couch with a beer and watch a game and watch these guys play, which is awesome. We're lucky. I think right now we got 39 guys playing in the NHL.
39 that came through this school.
Playing right now.
1,400 inquiries.
Playing right now. We've had 117 or something that have played games in the NHL.
Well, we had one of your former students on the podcast, Teddy Bluger.
Ah, yes. Yeah. Teddy Bluger.
He gave us a story about he was going to go out east and catch on with an academy there, and he saw a commercial for this school on TV when he was watching the NHL playoffs when he was living in Latvia.
Yep.
And his mom and him stopped here, and his mom essentially left him here.
Yes.
And he turned out to be
it's a dandy.
Yes.
Couldn't skate, too slow, too small. And he's signed his fourth contract in the National Hockey
Stanley
League.
Cup champion.
Yep. Dandy. His old brother played here too, Robert. So I mean, we're lucky because there's just guys around that love to play, and they just find a way to keep persevering and find ways to be good players and good teammates. And it doesn't have to be about them. It can be about them. They're all about helping. If you need a goal, let's go. I'll jump over and try to score. And if we were trying to keep them from scoring, I'll jump out. I'll try to do my best to keep them from scoring. I'm proud of the way our guys play. I'm proud of what they stand for as players and as young men. Hopefully we had a little bit to do with it. But a guy like Teddy, he's a peach.
What's the chemistry that you bring as a coach to this academy that you think helps make it successful?
Grounded. We are old school here. Like work, sweat is the thing. Like pixie dust here is ice time and sweat. If you want to come and sweat, you give yourself a fighting chance. If you come in here and you want a handout, you want somebody to give you something or think you're sweet or because of what your last name is, you're going to get something, that isn't how it works here. And we got history to prove it. Like you can go back and if you want to do your homework, you can find that that's not the case. The kids that come here and earn it. We have regular tryouts, like old school. We scrimmage for tryouts when the kids get here, and they put themselves on teams. And our tryout, we don't we don't have, a kid doesn't ever get cut. So the tryout is only for team placement. We only there's only contracts sent out to the amount of spots we have in our program. So there's nobody's ever cut here. Once you get a contract, you'll have a team to play on. But there's no free lunch. You can play on our top team one year and not make it the next year. And so we do it purposely like that, because now, like, I got a locker room full of guys that are working our hockey school here, and they all are either going to go to college or they're going to junior camps. And they're all packing their bags, loading their stuff, going to their deal, and they know. They're like, Coach, we'll see you next year. I'm going to go rip a spot away from one of these guys. I got some work to do. And that's their mentality. Like, it's all fair and square. It's all fair, not by the rules. But I love the way our guys go and compete. They go and they're not afraid to try out. They're not afraid to put it out there and get beat out or beat somebody else out, because that's the real world. Like, if you want to be a competitive man in this world, if you're an alpha male, you better be ready to go. Like, you got to get out there and you got to go and you got to do your own work and you got to make it. And that's one thing. That's one part of the environment here that I like to think that we had something to do with, is make it very competitive, all up and up, above, no cheating, no nothing. But you better be ready to go, and you better be ready to have somebody rip it away from you. And if you got it, you better not let them rip it away from you.
So, Coach, you had an opportunity to leave Shattuck and take a position with the Buffalo Sabres as an assistant coach with the Hockey Hall of Famer Phil Housley.
Yeah.
Was it hard to leave Shattuck at that time, and was coaching in the NHL a dream for you?
Oh, man, yeah. I was lucky enough. I got hired by Dan Biles. I ended up coaching with Phil, too.
Okay, yeah.
And so I was super fortunate to have that come my way. Wasn't out hunting for it. It just kind of came my way. I was very fortunate. And, as a athlete and a coach, you're always, as to my story about, not ever playing a game of pro or anything, I wasn't going to let it happen to me again. And so I gave it a shot. Proud I did it, happy I did it, learned a ton, met a ton of great people, learned a lot. It was a great, great, great experience.
I'm going to take a minute and shout out our next two sponsors, Raleigh's Coach Club in Altoona, Wisconsin. Located across the street from the Altoona Ice Center on Spooner Avenue, has been a staple in the Altoona community for decades, providing support and sponsorship for youth and adult sports. Raleigh's has your favorite beverage ready and your favorite team on the screen. And Kelly Heating and Electric, dedicated to serving their customers' heating and electrical needs efficiently. Kelly has been named one of Bryant's Medal of Excellence winners. They provide expert advice from a friendly staff that can provide you with the knowledge you need to make the best decisions on your next electrical, heating, or air conditioning project.
What were some of the challenges that you had to overcome coaching at a high school or AAA level going up to the pro level?
Buy-in, at some point too, is some guys only want to learn from guys like Howie that were Hall of Famers. You know what I mean? Like, there is a certain crust of players like that you've got to convince that what you're trying to teach them and what you're trying to tell them has merit. And so there is a process where I had to gain their trust and gain their confidence. But after it takes a bit, because you got to show them, you got to tell them, you got to teach them, and then you got to see it, you got to show them, you got to tell them, you got to teach it. And then when what you're telling them comes out to be the truth, then they'll start to buy in and understand where you're coming from and whatnot. But having not played in the league, that's a thing. Like, all these coaches that didn't play in the National Hockey League or play a long time in the minors, they all had that. Like, and they've had it in different levels. They did it in the minors, or they did it, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of those guys, like Torts, he's spent his whole life coaching. Like, he has a resume, like, holy smokes. Like, he started in men's league, basically, and worked his way to the National Hockey League.
John Cooper.
Yeah, Coop, same thing. Like, and so the hats off to those guys, because they had to prove it, because they never were, NHLers.
So what drew you back to Shattuck? Just
time. It was just the right thing. Like, it was you're either kind of a leopard or a lion, you know what I mean? Like, and this is a lion's place, and I'm a lion, and that's kind of what drew me back here. I knew when I left there would always be a chance to come back. And so the way I look at it, it was kind of like a sabbatical. I went out and got my doctorate and learned a lot so I could bring some stuff back here to the guys and back to the program. And but I would never, and who knows what will happen next. I didn't go hunting for it to begin with, and I'm not hunting for it now. And I'm not saying I'm leaving. I'm going to have to peel me off the floor here someday, but you never know. And this coaching business is a wacko thing. Yeah. And so, but I'm grateful to have had the opportunity for sure.
How do you go about choosing your coaching staff here?
Usually alums. Like I think a lot of the good college programs, you see a lot of alumni on their coaching staffs. I think that just innate fundamental institutional tattoo that they have on their hockey soul and as their soul of a human being means a lot. I think that then they can identify with these kids, if a kid's homesick or, having a hard time, or a kid that's great, like you're not that great, you know what I mean? Like, come on down out of the clouds kind of a thing. And so usually they have some tie here. I would say all but one of our coaches here is an alumnus, all of them. Okay. We got 17, so at least 16 of the 17 are alums.
Okay.
And we're lucky. I mean, this place breeds good coaches. Like there's coaches all over college hockey and whatnot, junior, that had strode the halls here and skated out here. And so we're lucky. Like if there's an opening, we get a lot of interest from people around. And then it's just a matter of, what is that kind of a thing we're trying to fill? We need more of a defenseman kind of teaching aspect, goalers. I mean, but at the same time, like in my opinion, it's like you're not as good a coach as you need to be if you can only coach forwards. You're not the coach you can only be if you only coach power play. You know what I mean? It's like I had an old football coach, and I was coming up in high school, and when I had that time right after and I went back and was coaching, he made it on purpose. He gave us a different responsibility every year. So we had to learn how to coach on one side of the ball, the other side of the ball, hands on the dirt position or hands out of the dirt position, a skill position, different stuff like that, because it's different techniques, different coaching styles. And I fully believe, too, that being a well-rounded coach means that you can self-scout yourself, too, such that you should be able to have your adjustments ready to go, knowing what you do and knowing what they're doing to you, because you know what they're doing to you because you've coached that and you know what makes that thing tick and you know where the weaknesses are. Yeah. And you can pick it apart. And so I don't think you're doing your due diligence as a coach if you don't know how to do everything and do it well, like know everything. Like you should be watching NHL games all the time and watching all the things you possibly can to try to figure out and scout games. Don't just watch games to watch Connor McDavid. I mean, it's sweet watching Connor going 100 miles an hour, but what are the Oilers doing on their power play? Like really, like what are they doing on their power play? What is their power play breakout? What is Calgary trying to do in their penalty kill to stop Connor McDavid? They got a great player on their team versus when they play the Wild, for instance, and it's a different thing, or some other team when they have to make an adjustment in their PK. That's what I encourage our staff here to do, is to always be a fan of the game and love the game because because you're here. But now it's a time to you should want to be the next guy that creates the next power play.
Yeah.
You should be you. Like you should be trying to figure out, get your brain working. Like what are the PKs that you're seeing? What are the PK and Nutrizone Ds you're seeing? Like come up with the next new thing. Come up with the next big thing. Like do it. Like you want to make $1 million, like do it. Like that's instead of making a widget, create a new power play, or a new penalty kill or whatever. Like And I think that's what keeps me going. Like, I love talking hockey. Like, I go through markers like it's going out of style. If anybody come by my office and just want to sit down and talk hockey, like, I'm in 100%. That's what I loved about coaching football too. I love the X's and O's part of it. I love that part of it. And I think that is the X factor as a coach, in my opinion. If you take the time to learn both sides and why is that happening to us and how can we defend it without absolutely blowing up what we're doing every week. Like, I think the coordinators in the NFL are some of the most brilliant people in the world because, in my opinion, because they have to go week by week without destroying their look of their base defense, but still be able to stop Aaron Rodgers and Adams or stop Cousins and JJ or whatever, and disguise it too all at the same time and not let them, because that's what Rodgers is doing. That's what Favre was doing. They're all spending extra time watching video because they're doing exactly what I was just talking about. They're learning the defense. So when they see him lining up over here, shading on his outside shoulder, he's like, okay, they're going to change the play and they're going to run it out there because they can double team the guy. Like that, I love that part of coaching. And you can do it in our game too, except we don't huddle up. Yeah. So you got to be able to do it in between periods. You got to be able to do it on the bench. You got to have that built into what your teams are doing. So when you get to a part in the game, you can tell the guys we're going from a one-man forecheck to a two-man forecheck, or we're going to left wing lock, as per what they're trying to do on the breakout. Like, I love that part of the game. That's what keeps me ticking. That's why they'll be peeling me off the floor here someday.
So actually, that concept leads me to my last question, at least. So Shattuck here is known worldwide for developing hockey players and winning titles. We pulled up today, and you got that huge board outside talking about all the Minnesota titles, all the national titles. Yep. Amazing. So what do you consider your main objective? Overall team success, individual player development, a combination of them, or something totally different?
No, combo for sure. Because I think we'd be absolutely fooling ourselves if we didn't have those banners that are down there on the wall, that we would have 1,400 inquiries to our school. That's absolute. University of Alabama wouldn't have the student population they have if the Tide wasn't playing in the SEG. I'm telling you, that is the truth. And so it's a combo.
You got to win.
It's a combo. Yeah. Winning is the thing. Yeah. Like, and that's, so you gotta. And I think, why does Colgate want Johnny to come and play at Colgate? Because they want to be 14-14. They don't want to be 14-14. No. They want to be 24-7 or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, they want to win. And so when our guys are sitting on the bench in front of these coaches, I want them to be the guys that they're tapping on the shoulder and they feel confident about throwing over the boards. Like, that's your main goal. If you're not sending players to college programs and they don't want to come back and get more, that's a problem. They should be calling you every year and saying, "Hey, coach, you got anybody?" Not, "I'm looking for a forward," not, "I'm looking for a D," not, "I'm looking for a goalie." "Hey, you got any guys?" And you can tell them, "I got X, Y, and Z I think would be good fits for your program." And you got to come and look at them and see if they're any good in your eyes. If they're your kid, they're going to be yours. And everybody has a different eye. But it's definitely a combination, because you need to have I've never played a shift here, right? So these kids got to go out and play. And it's a combination of development and winning, for sure. And the kids got to have fun. Like, why are these kids? Why? What is it today? The 30th of July. I'm not giving away any secrets, I don't think. But like, we've got a locker room, 2 locker rooms full of kids downstairs, alums that come back and work our hockey camp. Why? Because I love it here. It's July. It's 100 degrees out. We're in the middle of the cornfields. Half of them are from LA. Like, they could be doing everything else. They got ice here, and they love it here. And they got brothers here. Like, they love it here. And before I got here, I would have said, "Are you kidding me? Faribault, what? Shattuck, who?" Like, when I was a kid, all the guys, dads in the neighborhood, like, if you're messing up and you're a delinquent kid, like, you better shape up, Johnny. I'm sending you to Shattuck. You know what I mean? Like
really?
that's
Yeah.
what this place was back in the day.
wow.
It's a military school, and it was like all the guys that needed to get smacked upside the head came to Shattuck. And so it's everything. Like it's school, it's the community. Like the kids love our Father Doyle, the guy that has been our father here forever. Like they love him. They love the cooks. They love the gals that work in the kitchen. Like the gal that runs the school store. Like it's a family thing. Unless you've been here, it's hard to explain. It sounds super weird, but everybody that's been here could tell you all about it. You guys met Rooster.
Yes, we did.
Rooster is kind of every rink, every program kind of has one of their, guys. He's an equipment guy or he's this or he's that. And Rooster's kind of our guy. And every single kid here would come back and they would lay down for Rooster. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's the strangest, coolest, greatest thing I've ever been a part of. And it's just here in Little Faribault, Minnesota.
Amazing.
Coach, quite
Amazing
a story.
what you do.
Quite a story. Thank you for taking the time, sitting down and talking to us.
Yeah, no sweat, anytime.
We've been looking forward to this, especially with the history of this location, and you've given a great, background of the whole, testimonial background on the whole thing. Yeah. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, no sweat. It's a unique place we have here. It's not for everybody. There's no question about it. But if it's right for your boy and girl or your family or whatever, and it's a unique place. There's no doubt.
Ladies and gentlemen, please don't forget to leave a review on your favorite social media platform. It helps Mogi and I stay in the game.
And a huge thank you again to our special guest, Tom Ward, as well as you folks, our faithful listeners. Please remember to do business with our sponsors, Riverside Bike and Skate, Raleigh's Coach Club, Market and Johnson, and Kelly Heating and Electric. Follow us on your favorite social media platforms. And remember, folks, until next time, keep your head on a swivel and stay on your inside edges.